Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So yesterday we were able to walk through our DTech yesterday. So we had a bit of this coming into our code. That was what we did yesterday. So today I'll be going back to what we did yesterday anyways, then we go over it again. So like I said yesterday that the first step, sorry, I need to go back to my desktop. So I said the first step is actually to create a folder on your desktop by, let's say you right click, you click on new, of course you bring out a folder and you name it. Let's say I name
Now, please, you're not sharing your screen.
I'm not sharing my screen, thank you. I would have to do that now, sorry. Okay, can everybody see my screen now?
Yes, ma. We can see it now.
Okay, so what I was saying earlier was, let's take this out. Like I said yesterday, I said the first thing you do is to create a folder on your desktop. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So I'm creating a folder on my desktop page and I am saying, okay, I want to name my folder coding day 2 or coding day 1, whatever I want to name. So I have coding, or let's just say coding alone. So that's the folder I just created here. So now because this my Visual Studio Code, when I was installing it, I ran it as an admin. So for whatever I right click on my desktop, I get to have open with code there. So that's why I have open with code here. So I don't stress myself. There are actually other ways to have this your folder inside your VSA. And that way is actually to open. Okay, let me show you that way now. You open your Visual Studio Code first. Oh, sorry, I went to the wrong one. Going to have to take this out. Okay, so yeah, I have my Visual Studio Code here. So I'm trying to run it. It's gonna come up soon enough. Okay, coming up. Okay,
You
yeah.
only two of us down before.
Oh, this came with the one I did before. I'm just going to take this out because I don't need it. Yes, so this is a new page of my VS Code. So now here, let's say I'm trying to bring in this my coding folder that I just created here. I'll just come down here to where I have my file. Then I create, okay, hold on please. So I just come here to where I have my file. Then I create a new file or I open a folder. Okay, let's say I open a folder. Let's open a file first. Yes, let's open a file. Then I look for coding. Yeah, I have coding already. Nothing is in it, sorry. It's supposed to open a folder, not a file, sorry. That's why it's popping up this way. Need to bring this down. I'm taking this out. So now let's a new folder. So on my folder, I pick coding. Now I select the folder. So now see what pops up on my screen. So can you see I have coding here? So this is a new method of imputing your folder from your desktop into this place. So now because this method is however slow, I don't like using this method because I already know how to run as an admin with my Visual Studio Code. So I just come to whatever folder I've created and I open with code. So if I do this, it's faster. It takes me directly to my code, not like I'll first go to my Visual Studio Code, then come back to picking my folder. That's quite stressful. So this is the best approach you can use. So when I explain, so here we have coding as we have saved on this desktop on our Visual Studio Code. So now, guys, so I also mentioned yesterday that we have this being the new file that's creating files inside this our folder from our Visual Studio Code. Then we have the new folder, creating a new folder inside this folder. Then we have the Refresh Explorer, that's to refresh whatever you've done or your savings. Then whatever you've saved on this particular phase. Then we have the collapse when you have too much workload here. like the one I showed you on my own face yesterday. I had about.html, operation.html, home.html, a whole lot of HTML was there. So you can actually collapse to make your work look neat, because there are times when you have multiple code lines and it's just making your Visual Studio Code look rough. So now guys, as we always do, so you come to your new file to create a file that has a .html. So now let's assume I am creating any folder that starts with .html. I could say sandy.html. I told you yesterday that now it is responsive because it has the greater than and less than sign, and I was able to indicate the differences between a random file, like probably I just wrote Sandy like this, and Sandy is here, and I have this Sandy that has .html. Now, if I'm able to run a code, if I'm going to write Sandy, I can run anything on Sandy and nothing will occur, because this is not an HTML file. It's just looking like a random document that is done on your normal Microsoft Word. But take, for example, on my HTML, I now run something like H1, which is one of the code line. You can see I have something running here, or I run something like div, and I say I have something running here, or I run something like let's say I run something like sorry, that's because I placed this first. Okay, let's say I have something like my doc type and I run it. It's showing something there which will never occur if it is done here. I use this, it will never occur, nothing will happen. So on HTML, always take note of it. Or probably I do something like this. I wrote Sandy HTML. Imagine I wrote Sandy HTML. Imagine I wrote Sandy HTML. It's still the same thing, nothing is occurring. Or I write Sandy HMTL. Let's see what it brings. You can see. So it means that you must get your spellings accurately to have this popping up on your screen. So I have explained this yesterday. So now we're moving on to what we have for today on a quick one. So I'm taking off these ones. Okay, so now we have sandy.html, and I explained yesterday in the class that the first symbol or the first term you use in HTML is your doc type. And how do we get our doc type? Is by using our exclamation mark. Sorry, I didn't place this here. Okay, let's take this out. Okay, yeah, so on my number one, so I just need to press my exclamation mark and my enter. How did I get exclamation mark? I use the shift button and my number one to get the exclamation mark. So now I have this popping up on my screen, and I was able to also explain that we have the opening and the closing tag. Now look at, take for example this HTML. This HTML has a less than and a greater than sign, and look at the end of it here. We have the same less than and greater than sign, but having a slant. So I also explained that the one that has the slant is the closing tag, and the one that has just this is the closing tag. I hope everybody is following me. Guys, please, you can unmute your mic. I hope everybody is following me through this process.
Yes, ma.
Okay, thank you. So I explained the opening tag and the closing tag. So indicating that the one that has a slant is the closing tag, and the one without a slant that has just the greater than and less than sign, that one is the opening tag. But the one that has a slant in between the greater than and less than sign is the closing tag. So, and in every code line on your HTML or on your Visual Studio Code, you must have opening and closing tag for your code line to be responsive. So now look at this. I have head here having an opening tag. Here we have head having closing tag. We have body having opening tag, and we also have body having a closing tag. So then I started with talking about some of the elements we have in coding when I mentioned the simplest of the elements, where we have H1 to H6. So then I was able to give you guys illustration of what H1 to H6 looks like. when I gave you like H1, then I had H2. Let's take that quickly. Then I had something like H3 and all. Then you're able to see that the font line is actually getting smaller, smaller, smaller. So the more the number increases, the lesser the font. The higher the number, the lesser the font. So when I have H1, the font is the biggest. The font size of the text is big. When I have 2, it becomes smaller. When I have 3, it becomes smaller compared to 2. And like that, we get to 6, which is the smallest of all on this particular face. That was part of what I explained yesterday. And I also was able to show you guys the code line for image too when we had our IMG on it. That I said if we have something like IMG, it could come out like SRC. And I also explained that SRC means source and that ALT means alternative. And I gave some explanations on this yesterday. Then I told you that this can never work if you don't have an image folder. So if you want to run an image folder, then you have to. Now look at this here. Can you see code in here? Did you observe that it has changed the way it was before? Before we had only a folder showing on this screen, but right now we have my browser icon showing inside the folder. Do you know why it's showing inside the folder? Does anybody know why it's showing inside the folder? Why we have a browser already?
Using your browser to run.
Does anybody know that?
Because you are using the browser to run the code.
Okay, yes, that's true. That's because I'm using the browser to run the code, and because there is already a code inside the folder, which is the sandy.html. Now let's quickly go to something. I want to show you guys now on my browser. I'm going to show you guys something quickly. Let's say I have what can I use? Okay, let's say I have, I'm looking for a website I can quickly go through to use. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see if I can get that on Pixabay. Let's say I have something like Pixabay. Trying to show you guys the link to Pixabay and see if we have something like .html running on it. Okay, so I have Pixabay here. Let's see if they have a .html. I'm trying to show you guys something here. Okay, it doesn't. There are actually some websites that when you check them, you see a .html, even when it has been hosted already. Let's see if I can have one from Google, from Gucci. Let me quickly check Gucci store. Yeah, let's check Gucci store. See what they have there. So let's see if we can see something from Gucci. I'm trying to look for a website that has that .html at the back of it, so that we don't go through stress trying to show you this. Like in their link, this is what I'm trying to express, that in their links, you see something like .html like at the bottom end of it. Some websites still do have it. So you should know that they used pure code to